New York. I got a video I want to share to you guys. Yesterday, Cuomo did you guys see that exchange with Cuomo? Yesterday, Cuomo had a big exchange. Before you play it, I want to read this to them, but you can make it, get ready for it. Here's what happened with New York. New York schools shut down indefinitely with new surge of cases. Let me read that one more time to you. New York schools shut down indefinitely with new surge of cases. All students in New York public schools will transition to remote online learning beginning Thursday, today. Mayor de Blasio announced Wednesday. The COVID-19 test positive rate in the city hit 3% over the past week, reaching the threshold that officials set to determine whether schools should be closed, he said. We must fight back the second wave of COVID-19, de Blasio said. Richard Carranza, the chancellor of New York City Department of Education, said in a tweet that it was a temporary closure. The mayor and I have been clear-eyed since the beginning that we needed to get students back into the classrooms as soon as it was safe, and we carry the same urgency with us today as we announced this temporary closure. We will get students back in buildings as soon as we can safely. New York City public school system is the largest in the nation, serving more than 1.1 million students according to the New York City Department of Education, and this is what happened yesterday. Kai, press play.
This is the city's decision. They have an agreement at 3%. Today you said, well, I might have to impose an orange zone and I might have to close the schools, which an orange zone does. So what's going on? Does the city still have the ability to close its schools? Are you now taking control and saying that you have the power to make this decision? And for the millions of parents who want to know, are the schools going to open tomorrow in New York City?
All right. First of all, let's try not to be obnoxious and offensive in your tone. Because you're 100% wrong.
He sounds like Trump there, by the way.
We announced the orange
That's
zone
the ironic part.
law over a month ago. I don't know if you were here or if you were paying attention. But that has been
eerily
in
sounds
effect
like Trump here.
for over
They're both
a
from New
month.
York.
It always said, if by the state's numbers you hit 3%, the schools close. What's going on here is nothing that the law hasn't said for over a month. We then had the test out procedures. If you were paying attention, you would have known we closed the schools in New York City 2 weeks ago. Remember when we did an orange zone and a red zone in Brooklyn and Queens, and we closed the schools? Don't you remember that?
It was 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're now going to override. We did it already. That's the law, an orange zone and a red zone. Follow the facts.
I'm still confused.
Well, then you're confused.
I'm confused, and
Then I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Parents are still confused as well. The schools
No,
in New
they're
York
not
City
confused.
tomorrow.
You're confused.
No, I think
Read
parents
the
are
law.
very confused as well.
Read the law, and you won't be confused.
But Governor,
Go ahead.
following Jimmy's question, are the schools going to be open tomorrow?
The schools are open by state law.
They closed.
Well, they-
Right after
de
that,
Blasio
de
announced-
Blasio closed.
New York City
He
closed.
knew that, by the way.
New York City.
Yeah.
Just at all?
Well, I don't really care what you think.
No, go back a little bit. Go back. You got to hear the last 7 seconds. Just go back right
Paul,
Will they be open tomorrow? That's the question. I think Jimmy's correct in asking that question. I don't think it's obnoxious at all.
well, I don't really care what you think.
there. Here we go.
Sums him up right there. Boom.
You know
That's
what
all
he
need
wants to do
hear.
to that reporter? He wants to sock that guy and deck him right in his shoulder, man.
Yeah, that's what he
He's
wants
gonna
to do,
deck
because that's
that
what tough
shit-
guys do.
Oh
You're
my
right.
God, right in the shoulder.
So tell me, though. I mean, what do you think? What's going on in New York?
I'm
I mean,
appalled.
the guy's clearly frustrated as hell. I mean,
he's
what
an
he's dealing
asshole.
with
I
here.
mean, I'm appalled by that video. He thinks he's Al Pacino. You know, here's the problem with Newsom and Cuomo. They think they're rock stars. All right? They are so cocky. They're so out of control. They have so much power that they can get away with crap like this and what Newsom's doing. I can't stand what they're doing. I feel for the parents in New York City who now have to figure it out once again what they're going to do with their kids. And let me just say this. Kids have been robbed of a year of their life. It's been stolen from them. 60% of them at least will never be able to make up what they lost this past year. It is a crime what he is doing, going up there with the authority that he has, and to be that cocky and that out of touch and that out of tune. And did you hear the other big story about him yesterday? He got a pay raise. He got a huge pay raise. Look it up, Kai. Mario Cuomo got a huge... Now, he's going to say he's going to turn it down, right? Yeah, right. It'll come back to him sideways like 9 different ways. But I'm appalled by that. He thinks he's an entertainer. He thinks he's Al Pacino, leaning back like he's the Godfather or something. It sickens me to see what these guys are doing. They have no repercussions whatsoever.
So point counterpoint here. That's exactly what Trump does. So if you don't like Cuomo,
that's
just
the perception of people that hate Trump that thinks that's what he does. That is
there any difference between his tone and his interaction with
Trump has
Tom,
respect for reporters, and you're wrong. I'm going to tell you when you're wrong. Have you listened to a Trump press conference? He has respect for the reporters. He answers their questions.
We are literally living in different worlds there. There's no, and I'm telling someone who's saying that his tone was wrong. Again, one of the things I'm able to do is call bullshit on both sides. The way that he handled that reporter is exactly what Trump does.
No, it's
not.
not.
If you don't see that, then you're not listening.
No, the fact of what
you might just be watching
One
One America News or something like that. That doesn't show the reality of it. The reality is that's exactly how Trump treats reporters. And if you don't believe me, I'm sure we could roll the tape on every interaction.
Adam, I'm just going to be on record of saying what you just said is wrong. That is not how Trump treats reporters. He might hammer him in a tweet.
You're out of control right now.
Have you seen him interact? He answers questions. They badger the hell out of Trump for 4 years.
You're going
to find a highlight where he got frustrated one or two times. But that is not how Trump handles it at all. It just isn't.
So Trump is just a nice, chill guy.
But that's the only defense that people that hate Trump have. Is that you have to flip it and say, the opposite of Trump is what I'm saying, which is not what I'm saying.
The point that you're missing right now, you're failing to understand, is this is not an anti-Trump thing or a pro-Cuomo thing.
But the first direction you took it was anti-Trump.
Relax. What I'm saying is they both, keyword both, Tom, you understand what that word means. They both treat reporters disrespectfully compared to that. But here's my point, since I know you have where'd you go to med school and all? Where'd you go again?
Here we go. The guys that can't get past their emotion have to sound smart. Here we go.
What do you think he should do? Keep everything open, just not pay zero attention to COVID? I'm asking you not to complain, not to criticize, to give a solution for a second.
It's not my job to give a solution.
But it's your job to criticize.
What I can tell you,
you're
damn
yours,
right.
Though. What do you think?
My point is, I like to listen to scientists.
Okay.
And if they're basically saying, hey, you know where else they're shutting down? Freaking Kansas, freaking North Dakota, Minnesota. This isn't just a New York thing or a California. These leftist liberals, they're shutting everything down. They're robbing the kids of school.
My gosh.
COVID cases have increased. There's a second wave coming. I know that we're quote unquote rounding the curve. I don't have kids.
It's cold. Weather's cold.
Cool.
Second wave is coming.
Flu's coming. Colds are coming.
But
influenza.
Go make your point, though. I'm curious.
My point is, it's so easy to criticize and I'm being critical of his tone as well here. I'm not vouching I'm not vouching for Cuomo.
Yeah.
But clearly his frustration was they've had guidelines in place. If cases have gone from orange to red or whatever the protocol is, he's basically getting frustrated with the reporter.
Yep.
Saying, yo, bro, this has been in place 4 weeks, 2 weeks. The reporter said, no, 3 weeks. And then he's like, well, that's exactly what I just said. What are you talking about here? He's getting frustrated. Cool. I'm cool with that. But there's protocol in place. And if you reach a certain point and the medical authorities are like, hold on, freaking COVID's out of control, he's listening to the medical authorities here. So that's my point. So overall, his tone was a fucking asshole, just like Trump is a fucking asshole to reporters. So I'm calling it on both sides.
Yeah.
But to say that only Cuomo's the asshole here and Trump has never disrespected a reporter is outlandish. Has Trump not taken ridiculous tones?
Yeah.
He's called media the enemy of the state. He's argued with reporters nonstop.
Forget about his reaction. What I'm asking you now, what do you think about what New York is doing? What do you think about shutting down schools indefinitely? What do you think about that? They're doing the right thing with 3% that now is COVID showing 3%. Let's shut down the whole school. Is that the right thing to do?
I don't think that schools should be shut down indefinitely. Yeah. Never indefinitely is a thing.
Let me take it a different angle. And I'll address everything you guys just said. Number one, their style, Cuomo, the way he speaks versus the way Trump speaks. I think Trump is a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a little less condescending in interviews. I think Trump is a counterpuncher himself. His entire life he's been a counterpuncher. But if you come and you do a good interview with him, he's very respectful. He'll go through the whole thing with you. And he gets hit up 1,000,000 times more than Cuomo does. Cuomo doesn't get hit up, okay? When Cuomo gets hit up, you just saw the way he reacted. Trump gets hit up every single flipping day, every second he's getting hit up. Not Cuomo. Cuomo's a hero during coronavirus, the pandemic, and he had the worst city and worst state out of everybody. He had the worst out of everybody, and he is a hero. They're treating him like a hero. Like this
I
is
don't
a
know
guy.
if he's a hero or
Democrats are considering him 2024. Somebody that could potentially be a future president. He became
Maybe
a hero.
few months ago.
Fine.
Are you going on record saying that Trump does not have contentious arguments
Zero. But
with,
let me make
with the media?
Let me make my second part of the point. What do Christie, Trump, and Cuomo all have in common?
They're all from New York.
They're all from Jersey, New York, man. That's how they talk. That's how they are. I do business with people from New York because they tell me how it is. I don't mind doing business with them, but America doesn't know New York. Mike Pence doesn't talk like that. Thank you so much, Kristen, for that question. Kamala, congratulations on being the first.
Right.
So let me address the issue when it comes to Trump would never answer something like that. Neither would him, right?
They're both tough guys from New
They're
York.
from New York. I
Okay.
have no problem with that. I'm very comfortable with that. Now let's talk about the school and stuff shutting down. Let's talk about that. Okay. So how many teenagers do you hear dying from coronavirus? How many
Not
teenagers?
many.
Oh, no. Actually, how many?
2. There was 2 in California.
You talking about- is it
Probably with
is it
pre-existing.
thousands? Now, how many teenagers have we heard dying from flu? Now, how many people have we heard dying from obesity that ends up leading to heart attack and diabetes? How many? How many people die from heart attack? How many people die from their body not moving? How come we're not talking like you? For instance, yesterday you and I were talking. You were exercising, and you go into the gym. How many times you working out right now? How many times you're working out right now, Kai? How many times you working out right now? How many times you working out a week? What do you do? 5 days a week? Are you a 4 there, Eric? Are you a 5 there?
Right now, I'm trying to catch up with homework, but usually 4 days a week.
4
You've been
days.
slacking, bro. I think you haven't
how many
did it
times
once
you
this
work
week.
out? How old are you, by the way? You're how old?
39 and a half.
Okay. How many times a week you work out?
3-4 days a week.
Why do you work out 3-4 days a week?
To stay healthy.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Tell me what that means.
In what respect?
In what respect? What does it mean to stay healthy?
Eat well, exercise.
Why does exercise?
No.
Why exercise?
Where are you going with this? Pat?
I'm
What's
asking
your point?
you. What
What's your point?
What I'm asking you is
Yeah.
why exercise? What's the big deal about exercising? What's the big deal about moving your body? What's the big deal about doing anything with moving your body? Why do we move our body? If we don't move our body, what happens? It gets weaker.
You get
If it
fat and
gets-
sloppy.
And then what happens if we get fat and sloppy? What happens to our immune system?
You get a higher risk for COVID.
You get a high risk for sickness, period, not
Mm-hmm.
COVID. Your immune system gets weaker. This has got to be the dumbest, stupidest thing that people are doing, not realizing that if your body doesn't flip and move, you get sick. Shutting down gyms is ruining your health. People got to exercise. The more you exercise, the healthier you get. What does this have to do with kids? Everything. Kids go to school, they move their bodies, they get in shape, they do all this other stuff, they're feeling better. This is good for them, what the kids are doing. They got to be out there. Now you want to shut them down for what?
So your point, just to be clear, is they should not shut down any schools ever.
Zero
Okay.
at all.
All right.
Zero at all. Now, teachers who are above 60 years old, let them go home. Teachers who are 60 years old and up, let them go home. Now, I'm not talking about teachers being over 60 years old. Teachers who have issues with asthma, with certain issues like that, that's been documented. Not all of a sudden have asthma today. You know, I'm talking about that. You have documentation. Hey, let's address them in a different way. What do you mean sending
So
kids
question.
Yeah.
Because I want to cover
Yeah.
school. I'm just going to go, rapid fire. You give me your thoughts real quick. Schools, 100% stay open no matter what. Is that what you're saying?
Kids need to be out there. Yes,
Okay,
we're not
so
we're not talking enough about the
What
consequences
about
of these guys not
what
going
about
to school.
gyms?
Gyms need to be open.
All gyms.
Gyms need to be 100%
Okay.
open.
Bars.
I don't care about bars.
So bars do what?
What do bars do though?
Bars, you hang out and you talk and you drink.
Fine. The bars I'm indifferent about.
Stay open, 50%.
50% is fine
So
with me.
50%.
Yeah.
Restaurants.
Yeah. Restaurants 75%, 50 to 75. I'm bar and restaurant to me is 50 to 75%.
Sports arenas, football fields, basketball courts, the whole thing.
50%.
Okay, so there you do have restrictions on certain things.
Fine, for
School,
now.
School, you're saying 100%.
100%
certain
open.
thing.
Gyms
What should,
need to
what
be
should
open.
for sure not be open?
Nothing.
Anything? Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. So
Zero.
nothing should close
no.
whatsoever.
This is a little bit worse than a flu.
Little bit worse than a flu, Pat.
You want to do the math?
Yeah, let's do that.
Pull up the
as
math.
As far as how
Pull
many
up
people,
the math.
10 times amount of people have died this year versus the flu.
What age though?
I'm not
What
talking about
age?
eight. Okay, listen.
School, I just went
hear
to
me
school.
out.
That's
Hear me
incorrect.
out.
That's an inaccurate statement. you just
40,000
had.
people die of the year of the flu. 250,000 people have died
No.
of corona.
Way more people die from the flu than 40,000.
Hold this shit up right now, guy.
But buddy, keep going with your point here.
Here's my question for you. Is it, there's no point. This is a question here.
Yeah.
So is it the kids that if they do get COVID, well, cool, they'll be fine, but they give it to their parent or they give it to their grandparent or their aunt, uncle that they live with, and then there's the ramifications of that. Like your dad comes and visits you once a month.
Yep.
Your kids go to school. They're fine. No worries about Dilly, about Tico, no worries. God forbid God forbid they pass that along to an elder person that comes along. God forbid they give that to your father. That's the concern. That's not a point. That's a question. Is there a concern of that a kid gets sick, he gets the COVID, whatever, and they pass it along to an elder person in the family?
Yeah. Let me give you a different point of it as well. Mm-hmm. What's the alternative for my 78-year-old dad? Stay home by himself for the next 2 years? The hell kind of a life is that? You don't think a 78-year-old is sitting there thinking, how many more years do I have left? You don't think a 78-year-old sitting there saying, which would I rather have, spend time with my grandkids or sitting home by myself looking at these damn pictures? What do you think of selfishly, say I'm 78 years old. Yeah. Say you're 78 years old. You got 5 grandkids. You got 4 grandkids. What are you going to do for Thanksgiving? I want to say you're 78, you got 5 grandkids. Thanksgiving is coming up. Do you want to go to Thanksgiving, even with the risk of potentially getting coronavirus? What do you want to do at 78? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm curious to know what you're going to do at 78.
If you're 78 and you've got, I mean, look.
I'm asking you.
Okay.
You're 78. It's 38 years from now, 39 years from now. You have 5 grandkids. It's Thanksgiving, Christmas. You want to skip Christmas with them?
I've spent every Thanksgiving with them my entire life. Yeah. And you're saying, hey, man, for this one Thanksgiving, you should consider maybe not traveling.
You wouldn't want to see your grandkids?
That's not the emotional.
I'm asking you. Don't tell me logic. What do you want to do?
If I'm freaking 78 years old and I have health issues, that's the key thing. Have health issues.
My dad's had 13 heart attacks.
Okay, I'd be concerned about traveling and spending a lot of time around COVID.
Would you rather be on shutdown for the next 6, 12, 18 months and be in a room by yourself, risk that loneliness at 78 years old and your brain is going a million miles an hour overthinking everything? Or would you rather say, I'm going to tell my kids, please be responsible. Please do certain things. When I come in, I don't want to hug. My dad and I, we talk. When you come in, we don't hug.
So you're saying, listen, show up, but don't come give me a hug.
We don't hug. He says, when you come in,
okay, so this is my point.
No, it's not your point.
No, it
I'm
is,
asking
Pat.
you a question that you're not answering.
Okay, so here we go. But we're getting somewhere.
I'm saying you're
we're getting somewhere.
I'm bringing
so
it to you. I'm bringing it to you.
Okay.
I ask you, forget about what I'm saying.
But you just said something that's important.
But
you're saying your kids aren't hugging your...
you. I'm asking for your advice. You're 78.
Yeah.
You got 5 grandkids.
Yes.
You don't see them every day because they live somewhere else because the parents decided to go somewhere else because your daughter married a guy who has a career in Jersey, who's working out of D.C., who's working out of Alabama. He got a job there. They want to come see you. You want to go see them. You're not going to go see your grandkids?
Okay. Allow me to answer.
Yes, please.
Obviously, if I'm 78 years old, 50 years from now, I would love to see my grandkids.
Yeah.
No question. Okay.
What's more concern for you? Is it more the concern of getting coronavirus or the concern of you may never see your kids again because you're 78.
Pat, the answer is it can be both. The
Okay.
answer is it can be both. I want to see my grandkids clearly, right?
But-
I mean, who doesn't want to see their grandkids?
But
at the same time, there is something called the freaking pandemic going on.
Sure.
So as you just said,
Yeah.
maybe your kids don't give grandpapa a kiss. You said yourself that maybe Dylan doesn't get to sleep in the same bed as his grandfather. Maybe what rules have you put in place? He shows up. Does he wear a mask? Does he not wear? I'm asking you.
No, listen. Let me give one thing that coronavirus has done. That I give the positive of coronavirus. What it's done? Everyone's on junction. Here's what coronavirus has done. What coronavirus has done is the following. Coronavirus has gotten me to pay more attention to cleanliness. Coronavirus has gotten me to pay closer attention to when the kids are sick to not go lay down with Papa. Coronavirus has gotten me to be a little bit more careful with my dad. When coronavirus first initially came, guess what I did? I called my dad. I said, Dad, and I told him, I said, Dad, you're not leaving the house. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you ain't leaving the house. I said, I'm going to leave the house and go. I said, Dad, you're not leaving the house. We'll bring everything. I said this to my dad. I said,
you're not. In March, April,
March 11th, March 12th. I said, you're not leaving the house. He says, I'm leaving the house. You don't tell my dad what to do. My dad's a very strong personality.
Yeah. By the way, for the record, I love your dad.
I know you do. He loves you too. He's your number one fan.
All right.
So and
here we go.
And he says, I'm not leaving the house. I said, okay. I said, you're not leaving the house. You know what happened? I kept checking on him every day. No, I'm here. Do you know 2 months later, he lied to me. Do you know he started working, but he didn't want to tell me.
Really?
He didn't want to tell me. So I caught him, and I called him. We got into it. You know what he finally said to me? What the hell you want me to do? Stay home?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? You want me to stay home? I have nothing to do. I have to do something.
I totally hear you on that. I'm not saying that he should be sheltered in place.
He taught me.
Okay.
I don't know what it is to be 78 years old. You don't know what it is to be 78 years old. I only know what it is to be a 42-year-old man in my situation. And I want to hear from a 78-year-old. He says, I can't stay home. If I stay home, I get sick. I have to go out and do things.
You get sick, like emotionally, mentally, what?
Sick because
Fatigue?
you're not creating anybody. The most bitter people in the world are those that don't create. The most bitter people are the ones that are sitting there doing nothing. If you ever find that, make a list of the most bitter people in your life and write down, what did they create lately? Nothing. If you don't create anything, you get bitter. People need to create things to be happy. He says, I need to go out and build something.
Respect
That's
on
my
that.
dad, 78 years old.
So here's my question, because I'm sure we're going to have to move on in a sec. What is your dad doing for Thanksgiving, and what rules?
He's going to be in Dallas.
And what rules are you going to put
He
in
has
place?
a room for himself.
Okay.
And he has a room for himself, and he hangs out with the kids. While he's there, when I come in, I don't kiss him on the cheek. We always kiss on the cheek. And it's more fist bump and, hey, what's up? You know, we go in. He tells us what he wants to do.
And
the
why
kids
aren't you
know.
doing a kiss on the cheek, and why are you doing fist bumps?
Because he's comfortable with it. He says, you know what? Let's.
COVID.
By the way, he coughed and you coughed. So both of you guys are screwing this whole
Tom's
thing
getting
up.
me sick.
I
He
need to,
doesn't
I
want
need
to
to
shelter.
quarantine.
Yeah.
You know, here, let me say this. 3 points I'm going to make real quickly. Number one, the shutdowns are not about COVID. Okay? Period. End of discussion. Number two, there's a certain percentage of people in this country that want to save everybody, that everything has to be safe, that there's no risk at all, and a lot of them are governors. And the third thing is the shutdowns we did in the spring didn't work. These aren't going to work either. Let's just crush some more businesses. Let's just take more restaurants out and their ability to support their family and even live. Let's make gym owners bear the brunt of this. How about you own a spa or you own a nail salon? Oh, you're not allowed to be in this country anymore and thrive and do anything. It's all a joke. And it goes back to Mr. Cuomo and his attitude. They want to control everything about everybody's lives for the sake of saving everyone. And that's the bottom line.
So your point is everything should be 100% open. Everything.
I'm not answering these questions.
What are you talking
because
about
you
with
don't
these
ask rational questions.
I'm asking you a question, Tom.
yeah,
rational question.
But you're not.
Should
That's the
everything
thing.
be 100%
No, because
open?
I'm not arguing for
Tom,
something
ask
like that.
me any question, I'll answer it. You like duck all these questions. The question I'm asking you is very point blank, dude. Should everything be 100% open?
I'm not a governor. I don't make these decisions. It's not
Tom,
up to me.
what
I
should
give
be shut down
opinions.
at least
I don't
50%?
set policy. I don't look at percentages of what needs to be shut down. I give you a broad picture perspective of reality,
Tom,
of what's going on in this
Okay, cool.
world
I
for
respect
non-naive
that.
people.
Tom, I'm looking
but
right
it's
at you,
not
buddy.
my no,
I'm looking right at you. I respect what you're saying. I really do. But I'm asking you, generally, right here, looking at you, what should not be 100% right now?
Again, this is veering the podcast into a direction it doesn't need to go.
What
That's
do you-
not my.
we
It's
just
not my
talked
job
about it for
to
10
talk
mi-
about every single industry.
You just said you give your opinion, so I'm not looking for scientific fact.
Yeah, but
here.
you just asked me for a fact. You asked me.
I'm
an
asking you,
exact
in your
number.
opinion, what percentage of things should not be 100% open?
I want to comment on the issues that we're talking about. We were
Tom,
talking about
these
New York
are the
City
issues,
and schools.
bro.
The country's losing its mind. There's my
Okay,
statement.
so everything. So based on what you said, everything should be 100% open.
Again, these are not questions I'm going to answer because
What do
that's,
you mean? You go get
because
you
you're
give
trying
in-depth-
to back me into a corner that I'm
That's
not even near. I'm not even near a corner.
Tom. This is us talking here, buddy. Forget we're on a podcast. Forget it. Forget about
Pat,
the audience.
next subject.
The audience loves you. I'm asking you, what should be
Again.
not 100%?
This is not.
Listen, I'm going to help you out here. You can even just use his notes. Pat said bars should be 50%, restaurants 75%. That's fine. Pat gave an answer. He didn't duck out of it. You can just say, I agree with Pat. I agree those should be the numbers. You can get out of this and just say, I agree with Pat.
By the way, Good Mother just said the shutdowns are exposing the people in the wrong seats. Love it. Government should not be moms. Meaning shouldn't be moms like, hey, I'm going to take care of you and protect you. But let's transition from this
But
topic to
here's
another
my
one.
point. Bottom line is,
Yeah.
we're here at work every single day.
Yep.
Have I ever called in that I'm in my basement
No,
today, Pat?
you have not.
Have I showed up every single freaking day?
You
Do
show
I
up
not
every
do I not
day
leave
and
here
you-
till 10 p.m. every single night?
Sometimes midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are
Okay,
crazy
I
nights.
will say this: churches
So-
should be 50% open.
Okay, there
For
we go.
sure.
Tom just answered a
Yes.
question, ladies and
Minimum.
gentlemen. So if churches should be 50%. Is that what you just said?
Churches need to be open. They're not open in California.
But churches should be 50%.
All right, let me.
There we go. So there's some rules and regulations in place. I like it, Tom. We answered it. I'm proud of you.
By the way, I think you guys need to go have a drink together.
Tom
I
doesn't
think-
drink. I would love to drink. I'd like to get
Yeah, he
wasted.
does.
But Tom
Wait a
has
minute.
never had a drink. The
What
one
are
day
you
on the
talking
podcast.
about?
Tom,
I
what do you
haven't had a
drink?
drink.
What are you
What do you
talking
drink?
about?
I haven't had a drink on the podcast.
What do you drink,
I like
Tom?
tequila and I like bourbon.
Yeah,
right,
we had a one time we went to Chamberlain's and we had that
The old fashions.
We had some old fashions. It was phenomenal. Yeah, he'll have an old fashioned and maybe maybe you guys can hash it out at a nice
I'm asking
restaurant,
Tom a
and we get the
question, and he's
camera
saying
crew
that he
right
doesn't want to
there.
answer, but he did answer.